Welcome to my bloated Saturday. Feel like I'm 6 months pregnant. And I've seen my missus go through that a few times, a few pregnancies, so I know what a belly of 6 months looks like. That's what I feel like right now. I don't really know why. I just came off a night shift. Last night I had some grapes. This morning I had some grapes. And every time I have some grapes, I feel kind of like full for a very long time. It's almost like my intestines just can't handle it or something. I don't really know. I just get bloated. And this morning I'm eating grapes, because I can't get anything down after night shifts. I'm not really, hungry and all that. It's a really hot day. I'm like, yeah, okay, let me open up the fridge. I saw some grapes. I'm like, oh, that's really refreshing. Let me get down some grapes. And then I kind of sit down eating it and I'm like, man, why do I eat these damn grapes? I always feel bloated. Anyway, I waddled out into the garage with the missus. This time I was the pregnant one. But I didn't let that stop me. Today was all about emphasizing the importance of hip hinging, the ability to hip hinge. I've spoken about many things on this channel. And to my missus, I always say that the lower back is the most important thing. This is kind of what stimulated me to start the whole bloody journey of strength training. I've said this in the past. I had an incident when I was early 20s in the gym with no freaking knowledge of anything I was doing. I had my lower back pop, very severe pain, radiating down both my legs. It frightened the hell out of me. I pulled out of it all right after a few days. It kind of all settled down. But from that moment on, I just kind of said to myself, if I don't have a strong back, strong core, I don't have anything. And so from then on, I kind of threw myself into the whole journey of teaching myself how to squat and deadlift. And, some 10 plus years have gone by and I'm still kind of learning. It's not something that you can master very quickly. And so with her, I keep saying to her, it would be an absolute disaster for you to get injured in here. This is not about you PRing 200 kilo squats or anything like that. This is about, recompositioning your body, getting healthy, getting fit, all that stuff, getting baby body, that kind of thing. And the basis of all of that is understanding what's really important. And yeah, sure, biceps, shoulders, lats, all that stuff is really important. But in my opinion, I don't think there's anything more important than learning how to do a hip hinge. And when you say a hip hinge, what it really means is that do you have the ability to bend at the hip and not at the back? Do you have the ability to bend over and grab something off the floor without bending your back? Is your body aware where your glutes and hamstrings are? Does your body understand where your hip flexors are? And so some of these movements, like the one I'm showing you here, the single leg Romanian deadlift, I think this is one of the best exercises if you're teaching somebody from the get-go, how to engage glutes, how to put glutes on the map. This is unbelievable. And, I'm not going to tell her something that I'm not going to be doing. And so I'm kind of showing her, and I did a bloody 10 set day of these things, 5 body weight, and then I took a 10 kilo dumbbell. It lit me up like nobody's business. And I'm not just talking about glute maximus, the big glute muscle. Everyone that squats and deadlifts hits that muscle some way or another. I think the most important glute muscle in all of training is the glute medius and the minimus. These guys often get neglected because not a lot of people do unilateral leg work. We're all kind of doing bilateral leg work, meaning 2 feet on the ground in the sagittal plane. Yep, sagittal plane, I think. And we never do any frontal plane business, like as in a front squat, a front split stance squat or a Bulgarian split squat, something like that. And so I'm getting her to do that, and she's like, wow, like the glutes are really getting lit up, and she's saying that the whole thing is not just one side. And so I feel, mastering this type of movement, single leg deadlift, Romanian deadlift, whatever you want to call it, single RDLs, is crucial to having, an effective hip hinge. I've got ladies at work who are, 50, 60, some are 30, 40, whatever. And they're like, Ivan, how do I do this? How do I do that? You know your stuff. How do I? And I'm always saying the same stuff. I don't really care about your as much. I don't really care about your body composition and your six-pack abs and how sexy you are. My number one priority in everyone's lives is, when it comes to training, is, are you safe? Lower back injuries are probably the most recurrent injuries in normal populations, right? And obviously in the gym, it's also, I guess, the most injured body part all around, really. And so I think most of that comes down to that people just completely have lost that connection between the brain and the glutes and the hamstrings. A lot of us quad dominant. A lot of us are, which is all fantastic, great, beautiful. But I would rather you be hamstring and glute dominant. I think that is a far more safer dominance to have than the opposite of that, which is quads. Because when you're quad dominant, all you want to do is use your legs, and you don't really have that intuition about hip hinging. Now, I'm a hip hinger, 3 taps to my left chest and point up to the sky, man. This is me. I am a diehard hip hinger. So much so that it's pissing me off. Like, I've taken it up to the extreme. When I first started lifting, this is kind of what I learned. And I'm like, okay, I ain't injuring my back ever again. So let's become lean over masterpieces. And that's kind of what I've become. But now I'm kind of getting problems because I'm hinging too much in everything I do. And now I'm kind of finding my way back. However, in all of these years of training, ever since that initial injury in my early 20s, I have not had a back injury. I've not had a back injury. This is something that everyone has the highest chance of injuring, the lower back. And so when it comes to my missus, I'm like, okay, hip hinging. And, she did 5 sets of 15, I think, each leg. And she was lit up. And I said, that's it. We're not doing any more. You're probably going to be sore a little bit tomorrow with that. And then I had her do some benching. So each day that we come in, I try to get her to do a full body workout. So legs, some sort of legs, whether it's a push or a pull or something like that. Some sort of corrective exercise, which I kind of decide based upon what I've seen from her. So, a few days ago, I tested her out and see where the restrictions are. And of course, the restrictions are pretty much similar to everyone's, beginner restrictions. There's probably 2 classes: people that are natural squatters and are kind of knocking on the door of back injuries. And then there's people like me and Soft, like both of us are the hip hingy types. But even for people like this, I'm always kind of like, okay, Soft, I need you to really engage your glutes. I really need you to feel your lower back, the positioning and all of that, because that's the basis of preventing back injuries. So that I kind of plan the training session for her, but it's usually something legs and then a push or a pull. So today, the push was bench press, barbell for 10 to 15 reps. And then go to the cable machine and she does a bit of upright rows. The reason why I love this exercise so much, especially with her, is because breastfeeding, kyphotic posture in the chest, women also have breast tissue as well. And so there's weight in front of those shoulders. So the shoulders are always kind of sagging forward and falling forward because there's weight there. And so reversing some of that, engaging the upper back musculature for those posture muscles to engage in order for her to have good posture. I don't know about you guys, man, but for me, there's something absolutely sexy about posture. When you see a girl that is not in a good posture, it's almost like she seems not attractive. When you see a girl with really good posture and the right curves, you're like, wow, that's stunning. Posture is also beautiful on a man, right? You see the presence, athleticism, all of that. So posture is basically just a restoration of your normal alignment that your body should be in. Now, if you put training on top of bad posture, well, now you're putting movement on top of a dysfunctional base. Now, what do you reckon that's going to happen there? Well, if you have kyphotic shoulders and you start benching, you're asking for shoulder troubles and all of that. So a lot of beginner part of training is just basically restoring some of these functions. Now, I have long battled with anterior pelvic tilt. I've long battled with it. So some of these postural things are not easy to fix. But once you identify what your problem is, then you just keep addressing it over and over again, depending on your leverages, long femur, maybe a shorter tibia in comparison to the femur. So there's all these combinations of things that we have as individuals, and we kind of got to work out, okay, no matter what I do, man, I have to work on my free throws if I'm Shaq. That's always going to be my weakness. My weakness is not going to be, the ability to back somebody down and turn around and dunk on their face. Nah, Shaq's got to work on this bloody free throws, 3/4 of the individual, skill practice. Everyone's got their own little thing. Shaq's got the free throws. I've got the pelvic tilt. In my missus's case, she's got, that posture where her shoulders are falling forward. So I'm like, pull those back. Upright rows are a must. Absolutely a must. And that's kind of how I structure, her training sessions. And, in the midst of all of that, I'm kind of like teaching her, giving her the rationale for some of these the decisions that I make when it comes to her training. I'm like, I said it yesterday, man. I'm like, damn, that sounds really good. Why don't I do this stuff, man? Like, why don't I do some of this stuff? I kind of catch myself all the time. So, another session, even though I felt crap, bloody grapes, maybe even the cortisol level from all the night shifts and or whatever, probably that's all having an impact, but didn't feel the greatest. I'm exhausted right now. I got to go to sleep. I only had 4 hours after nights, but, I reckon we had a pretty productive session in there. I think the highlights were the single leg RDLs, man. Like those things, I remember the first time I did them years ago, man, I had glute medius soreness like nobody's business. I reckon that's even more of a glute medius exercise than split squats are. Obviously, split squats add something else to the mix. For that back leg gets a hip flexor stretch, but in terms of isolating your glute medius or glute in general as a totality, I would say even the single RDL, single leg RDL is probably even better than a glute thrust or a hip thrust, purely because you're on your feet. There's a balancing component, and you can actually send your hips forward, and you're not kind of locked out. A lot of times when I do a glute thrust movement, I feel like I'm locked out of that end and range of motion because of my anterior pelvic tilt. And so there's like I'm kind of lumbar lordosis is kind of preventing me from engaging the glutes. I reckon this single leg RDL is an absolute flyer. And if you know anything about women, especially the culture of nowadays, anytime you give them a good workout of the glutes, they're like, oh, right, they kind of feel like they've done something. Everyone's chasing that whole, big glutes and whatever. But, the funny thing is, as if you're not into vanity and all the rest of that stuff, glute function and glute ability is, okay, so, us guys like to see it on girls, but us guys should be doing that as well. Because if you think about it, in my case, anterior pelvic tilt, yeah, dude, you got to train glutes. It's the number one muscle probably that's responsible for athleticism. Strong glutes. Jump faster, run faster, jump higher, all that stuff starts from the glutes, dude. You got to do your glutes. And I reckon single leg RDLs is an absolute awesome, bloody awesome workout. Anyway, guys, appreciate you like always, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.